Pyramid of Giza, actually there are three, but they're among the seven wonders of the whole world. And of course, we are pretty aware of that. But there is nobody better to talk to us about the great pyramids of Giza except Dr. Bessem الشماع, historian and author of Egyptology. He's going to tell us stories and the sources and how pyramids were built, because there were mixed stories in the Jewish history and the Egyptian one about how those pyramids were built. We're here live with Mr. Bessam الشماع, the historian author of Egyptology, to talk to us about the Great Pyramid of Giza. Good morning, Mr. الشماع.
Good morning to you, my dear.
A very good morning to you, sir. As Dina said, the Great Pyramid, and if we do have a lot of episodes, we're not going to end with the Great Pyramids. But let's go a little bit deeper than that and start with the pyramids in Egypt, because the Great Pyramid is not the first. And they are not only just tombs for the pharaohs of Egypt. We do have a lot of secrets. But the idea first to have the pyramid as a tomb for a pharaoh. Just to start with, and then to go to the Great Pyramid.
Excellent. You guys started by the word that it is one of the ancient wonders of the world. We'll have to add also, and the only surviving one, because the other six, unfortunately, are gone. Secondly, I am very interested in the people behind the pyramid. We have 123 pyramids in Egypt as one of the last, or the latest, if you like, statistic that I heard from the authorities. 123 pyramids. The most ancient pioneering attempt was the 6 unequal steps of Saqqara of the king Djeser, Djoser, Zoser afterwards. There is no Z or Z in hieroglyphs, so Zoser. So Djeser, and for the amazing architect Imhotep, who actually was not only an architect, he was an architect and a doctor, a physician, also an astronomer, and everything else. And a vizier, and the right hand of the king. So this business, now why am I mentioning a man with lots of ranks and titles? Because the man that I'm talking about with you today is the man who has got at least 18 titles and ranks, and he's the guy behind the Great Pyramid of Khufu. So if we knew the people, we will know the project. So you don't know the project from the project, you know the project from the people who did or who achieved the project, if you like. Let me introduce the people today to a man that I am so impressed by, probably daily, to the point that I wrote a booklet about him. And the information that you are searching for when you search for this man is very, very little, unfortunately. But at last, some years ago, we reached where he is. Let me introduce you to Ham Eyuno. That's his name. First of all, very cool name, Ham Eyuno. Two, we know the meaning of the name or the title. Ham is a hieroglyphic word for a priest or a servant.
That's his maiden name?
That is the name which was carved in his tomb, right? Now we know that people in ancient Egypt sometimes had a rank, had a title name, and had a name. The king himself, cartouches. But this man is not a king. And that's the important thing about him. So it is the Pyramid of Khufu because Khufu owned the pyramid. But who achieved it? The 100,000 workers. If this figure is right, some people are saying this figure is a bit exaggerated, and 12, some people said 8,000 people would be enough to build such an amazing construction, over 146 meters high, 2.3 million blocks of stones. That's the figure that we have to remember. 2,300,000 blocks of stones, varying in weight between 2.5 tons to 12 tons, and some of which are 50 tons and more. All of this, 6 million tons minus in one construction. 2 points. I'm not going to enter into very complicated details. 2 points. One, how would you put all this amazing number with not one or any adhesive force material or any wooden beam? That's question number one, unanswered till today. Number two is not 1 millimeter under the ground foundation.
Are you talking about the bricks?
Yes. The stones, let's say, because they are stones and not bricks.
Let's also have a look.
That's the man.
Okay.
That's Ham Eyuno. That's the man who put 6
Hem
million
means
tons.
priest and Iyun means?
Iyuno or Iyun or Un, 3 are correct, is Matariya Ain Shams district today.
Then the priest of
Heliopolis,
Heliopolis.
if you like. But
Okay.
ancient Heliopolis is not today. It's not Heliopolis of the Baron Impact. No. Iyuno is Matariya today.
But
The old
Mr. الشماع,
Heliopolis.
let me step in here and stop with wonder and ask you again about the way, the way, the process of building the pyramid. You said not even one single nail, not any other mixtures than the ones that we used when we construct things. I mean, the usual mixtures used for construction and the construction process. How come it did not collapse all that time?
Well, some
and
years
stayed
ago,
intact that way?
some years ago, the French came up and said it could be mortar. Those blocks, those huge blocks of 2.5 tons could be mortar, and they were not quarried. But of course, we found the quarries. We found the quarries, and there were 2 places. Quarries in the pyramids area, where the
And there are
local
also
limestone
chambers.
and the chambers, and
With
also
nothing, only they're put together side by side?
not even this business of putting one wooden beam on it. The genius behind this is the secret, the key is Haim Iyuno. Why? Because one of his 18 titles which were mentioned on the base of his statue, that's why these pictures are pretty important. They are documentary important, because on the base of his statue, carved hieroglyphs of about 8, and his tomb, about 18 titles, one of which is the responsible for all, underline all with golden lines, with all constructions of the king. So this is the man who was not only the architect of the Great Pyramid, the genius, but also the man who was responsible for the organization of the 100,000
Why
workers.
in the first place the pharaohs decided to have their tombs in pyramids?
In a pyramid shape.
In a pyramid.
That's a good question. First of all, remember that, did you realize, for
very
example,
important
on the
question.
4th dynasty, there is Menkaura, there is Kha'if-Ra, Kafra, Kefren, right? There is later Nefer-Irka-Ra, Sahu-Ra, Nusu-Ra. So all those names of kings of Egypt had Ra in it. Ra is the sun.
Yeah.
So I want to be in one with the sun rays. So if I get buried under sun rays, at night I'm not going on with the great deity, with the great mythological deity, which is the sun. I want to be in one with him all the time, for eternity. So they thought the only thing which will last is blocks of stones, not the rays itself. So they take a look at the sky today, and you will find that the rays come down from the cloud in form of a triangle.
Reflected
Right.
to the surface.
You will find that like this. So they looked at it and said, sun rays come down from the sky in this form. I want to be in this form. I want to be in this form. And from there came the pyramid's idea. And because it's made out of stone, eternal, if you like, from their point of view, so I will last forever in one with the great mythological deity, which is Ra, which is the sun at that time. So this is the reason why they took the shape, the pyramid. Big, small, that's economy.
Yep.
That's economy.
And that's to
Khufu,
indicate
Egypt was
who was buried there.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever it's...
Ramesses II. Aren't you
Yeah.
so impressed by Ramesses II? Of course. Time, 66 years and 10 months ruling Egypt, dying 91 years of age. Why did Ramesses II didn't build the pyramid?
66 years ruling
And
Egypt.
10 months?
So
Jutmos is the
Egypt
third.
has history with...
Oh, remember Pepi. Pepi
We
II
thought-
ruled 94
we
years.
thought Mubarak was the only one.
No, Mubarak was playing beside those guys. I mean, Pepi, 94. Pepi took the power
Just
when he was
the beginner.
6, and he died 100. He ruled Egypt 94 years. Pepi II, and his pyramid
Yeah.
But
is
they
not to
had
be compared to
Renaissance.
those
I
who
mean,
ruled for 20 years.
66 years of Renaissance, complete
Yeah,
Renaissance.
no, I mean Ramesses II. But the point I'm saying is that a man who ruled enough time to build a huge pyramid, he had the Renaissance period, he had the military power, the great empire of Ramesses II and the third, and before him Thutmose III. Why those guys didn't build themselves? Hatshepsut, 22 years. Khufu, 20 years the pyramid took. He ruled 24 years. So it doesn't, if you compare, you're not going to compare time of ruling, the regnal years as we call it, the years of reigning, Not also, it's all about economy. It's all
Right.
about, do you have the economical situation in Egypt to do this, to
Right,
build such a
Mr.
great structure?
الشماع, another important issue that used to raise itself in the international media in the West, there were mixed stories and statements released by Jewish communities and in Jewish history that the pyramids were built by Jews. And they had a hand. I mean, they shared in it with the. I mean, with their
Answering
hands.
your
So
question.
how do you answer such allegations?
Answering your
or
question.
not aliens, sir. This is another
That's
story.
another story.
And another story.
Another
was
story with the
also,
aliens.
Also aliens.
Well, they were both aliens. All right, so let's talk about the Jewish allegation. Now, here is a surprise for you and for everybody. If you read the Old Testament, which is talking about Bani Israel and the Israelites, and they're suffering from Pharaoh, and this is something that we believe in Quran and everything.
Yeah.
What do you say if I tell you there is not one mentioning in the Old Testament, the Torah, of the word pyramid? If I was for 20 years ruling and for 20 years being enslaved in the days of Kufu, I would at least mention once in the Torah, mention it once in the Old Testament.
An Oscar-winning Hollywood movie
movies,
created by Mel Gibson, and he was talking all the time about Jews.
But there is not one mentioning for this. There is no one mentioning in even the Arabic kind of transliteration, which is the word Haram. There is no mentioning for that. And there is no mentioning for the name Kufu. I would mention his name because he enslaved me for 20 years building a pyramid. One. Two, if the Israelites constructed the pyramid of Kufu, why didn't they continue to construct the pyramid of Khafra? Why is it always that the Israelites built Kufu? And we know that between Kufu and Khafra, Khafra and Kawra and Jeddah and all those guys are one day. Because the king is dead, long live the other king. So it is not the matter. That's number two. Why? Because they were not there. That's why. They were not there. They were not there in the days of the building of the pyramid. And they were not there in the days of Ramesses II. So when I discuss this, and the people will say, we were there in the Ramesses II time. We were responsible for the carving of Abu Simbel. We were responsible for Karnak. So it's either Karnak and Abu Simbel and Ramesseum, or it's either the pyramid of Kufu. Why didn't you come in the days of Senwesel II? Why were the Israelites in the days of Thutmoses I? Why it is always the big ones who build the big things? So when you read about them, they say, we spent in Egypt so and so, 460 years, 400. Well, of course, between Khufu and Ramesses, there is a good 11 centuries. The Israelites didn't stay in Egypt for 11 centuries. It's one of two things. You either say you were there in the days of Kufa, and that's not proven, or you will say they were in the days of Ramesses II. That's not proven as well. So that's my answer for them. My answer for them is that there is not one single materialistic
Forging
proof.
history is their talent, sir.
Of course, of course.
And you know, when you were talking about economy, and to have it as a main reason behind why there's a big pyramid here, and
the problem with the dollar.
Yeah, something like that. But I think that whenever we do have talented architect or engineer like him, is one also of the biggest reasons or causes behind having such a thing.
Here you go.
I'd like to know some of the facts about the Great Pyramid. As far as I know, that whenever it comes to its base, for example, each head is just indicating north, south, east, and west. And when it comes to, I don't know, to divide so by so,
mathematical calculations,
the mathematical calculations about the circle and stuff like that, the ventilation of air, and the having so many rooms inside to deceive thieves or something like that, just not to go or not to enter or not to reach the real room where the king or the pharaoh was buried. To have so many rooms, not to bury only the king, maybe also his wife or his wives, to be accurate, and his family. Unfortunately, we don't know more about what's going on inside
Yes.
and about those methods.
First of all, let me praise the way you talk hieroglyphs, because you pronounce the name right of Hem Iyunu, the priest of Heliopolis, if you like. The man is telling us something about his building, because he was a politician, he was a vizier, he was a leader. One of his titles is the hereditary prince, even though he's not the son of the king, but because that was a title given to the people that's so close to you when you become king. They're telling, my son, come. Well, he's not my son. And that lived today in your genes, because anybody that you like, you will call him Ibni, my son, even though he's not your son. That's something that was good. So Hem Iyunu took this title from the king. Also, inside the Great Pyramid, there is no great enough carvings. As a matter of fact, there is no carvings whatsoever found till today. All what we have are the important graffiti or graffito in some of the chambers and the hidden chambers, right? So little information we know about it, but from the tombs beside the pyramid, we know more. Like, for example, let us take a look here. Now, this is a very important. This statue is the only statue of the architect of the Great Pyramid in the world. So Hem Iyunu had only one statue found for him today, found in G4000. His tomb is called G4000.
Thank God it's not sold in London auction.
Well, it is in Hildesheim, 30 kilometers south of Hanover in Germany. The only statue, let's take a look. This has got carved hieroglyphs as if it was carved yesterday. And it is telling us about this business of who he was and his relation with the king, and he is responsible for all the construction business of the king. So at least now we know who is the architect of the Great Pyramid. We know who is the architect of the second pyramid. An-ha-F. That's his name or his title. Where is his statue? Boston Museum. Museum of Arts, Boston in the United States. Two of the most important, if you are telling me in Germany, the statue, if you come back please to, yes, thank you very much. If we take a look at this statue in Hildesheim, it's in a museum called Romer und Poliadzius Museum. Obviously German. But take a look at the statue. He is carved, this is to give you an idea about the size, seated out of one piece of limestone carved. This statue is 155.5 centimeters. 155.5 centimeters high. Now, take a closer look. Let's take a look at the second photo, please. And you will notice that he is carved a little bit in excess of weight. Did you realize? Here. See? To some point that some people analyze this as gynecomastia. Gynecomastia is the excess of the breasts and excess of parts of the male. Right? Now, did we ever see a king this way? Did you ever see Ramesses II this way?
No.
Wait. No way. Because the king should be
I would
perfect.
consider this one as XXY.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Now, you would like to ask yourself a question. Is that strange or is that strange? If it's a king, it's close to the degree of impossibility to see a king with his back problem or with his arthritis or anything like that. Why? Because the king is the son of the deities, he's becoming deity, all the things that you know. But this is a statue that if you put it in one side of the scale, and on the other side you give me Nefertiti's head from Berlin, I will tell you, give me Hem Iyunu and leave Nefertiti's head.
Why?
To that extent. Because he is more important to me than the head of Nefertiti. Why? Because Nefertiti is a masterpiece of beauty. But this man is a masterpiece of work. This man achieved, this man led. Do you know this business of now human resources and the lectures being given to the people how to lead their life, how to be a leader and all of this now? Well, he's the prince of leadership, isn't he? Because he led 100,000 workers and in a project of 20 years. That's the toughest part. You feed them, you bring them social security, you give them all sorts of salaries.
Transportation.
Exactly, transportation, hospitals, food. You know, an American Egyptologist who's working right beside the Sphinx told me that they found a restaurant for the workers of the pyramid. And that will cancel What the Zionists are saying about being whipped and all of this in building of the pyramid.
That was going to be my second question, because there were many documentaries, I mean, in the international medias, and many movies, like this Oscar-winning movie of Mel Gibson. It talked about slavery and humiliation and torture and all kinds of horrors that happened to the laborers who were constructing the pyramid. And it won Oscars.
Oh, yes. And more, let me tell you, 10 Commandments. Cecil B. DeMille, the icon of Hollywood. The icon of Hollywood is Cecil B. DeMille. He made a movie called The 10 Commandments about the slavery of the Israelites.
Right.
And he repeated it twice. Once in the colored and once in the silent movies. What this dedication. The man had a heart attack, 75 years of age. The doctors told him, sit, and he said, I would like to finish my movie. And he finished the movie and he died. This is dedication to prove how they built the Egyptian civilization, while the other side, as a man who reads history, give me one good, I'm not going to have any problem, by the way, if you bring me one materialistic proof. But now, my main concern is the statue of Hem Iono. And some years ago, I made a campaign. 2,000 and more Egyptians participated to bring it back. They are not wanting to bring it back. The Egyptians are asking for Hem Iono to come back now. So please, Germany, prove again that you are in love with Egyptology, as you would say, and claim, and bring us back Hem Iono statue.
Bring us back Hem Iono statue. Bring us back Hem Iono statue. Mr. Bessam Shamma, thank you very much for being with us. Next Saturday is going to be another dive into our Egyptian history, of course, as we are going to have the privilege of having you.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dina?
Yes, and I guess now we're going to continue with talking about our great history, and usually on February 2nd and 22nd of October each year, this marks a very important event. The sun penetrates the face of Ramses II. Usually the whole world celebrates that. It's such a magnificent, and you should go to the temple and watch it yourself once it's happening. Linda Abdul Latif was there, and she filed in this report.